Alright guys, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to the showdown between the Warriors of Chaos and Beastmen. It's going to be myself with Festus facing off against Subutai rocking the Bray Shaman, and we're coming in with some heroes, some halberds, a little bit of horseman action, and I believe some big monsters in reserve. Now, as far as my build goes, like I said, halberds I do think are a pretty good frontline choice. Granted, they can be peppered down by like Ungor Raiders, so having a little bit of shield action in front of them isn't terrible for buffering, but ideally, these guys in combat, the halberds do beat Zangors. They can fight Razor Gores and Minotaurs relatively well, and they look super, super cool. So we got two of those, Festus and the double Exalted Hero on foot. Now, Beastmen, aside from Zangors, are relatively lightly armored. These guys have the Doom Totem, which does lower leadership of nearby units, and honestly are just a pretty decent, sustainable fighting presence on objectives. And you can make them Exalted Heroes of Nurgle or Khorne if you want to. Very, very viable either way, but I did use my Marks of Chaos elsewhere. We have Festus, and I do have some speedy units in reserve. Aspiring Champions, just trying them out. Severed Claw are obviously super good, and I will be calling them out relatively soon, but I was like, hey, let's try out the basic Aspiring Champions and see how they do. In theory, they could probably hold back Zangors and a lot of other hardy Beastmen troopers. They're also silver shielded against Raiders. Let's see how they do. Couple horsemen to the front. These things are a staple. You need the horsemen to help deal with Minotaurs and Razor Gores with some ranged play. And that's pretty much it, with Festus, of course, providing healing. Now, for Subutai's army, Zangors in the front line are the meta for the Beastmen. They're incredibly good. They really outshine all the other Gores, and I do hope that that's something that gets addressed in upcoming patches, because I would like to see basic Gores. Like, Gores with dual weapons should be probably get a bonus for its infantry of some sort, and Zangors could probably use like a 50 gold cost increase to make the lower tier version a little bit more, desirable, I suppose. But Bray Shaman of Wild's good. Traderkin's a super powerful blob punishing spell, and Chaos has an extreme hard-on for blobbing with Festus. We got Minotaurs in the back, a couple Ungor Raiders lurking around, and that is it for the Bray herd, which is looking to envelop all three objectives while we do move up. Now, I will fast forward as we approach. You'll notice I'm saving resources for the Severed Claw, which we're going to be using to anchor down our side objective. And here, now we're just using our Marauder Horsemen to charge into the Raiders, get some freebies where we can. They have some decent combat stats. You can see on impact here, they do kill a couple of the Ungors, and we'll be able to retreat, a little hit and run here. Granted, the Ungor Raiders might be able to still get their value back. But overall, Marauder Horsemen, pretty happy with their performance. I do feel like they're in a pretty good place after the bounce they had in the past. There was a time when Marauder Horsemen used to throw their javelins in melee while they were also meleeing you. It was really broken a couple patches ago. So, yep. Good skirmish here on the side. Ungor Raiders getting peppered down. The Aspiring Champions moving up with halberd support, so hopefully they'll be able to fend off the Minotaurs. And the Severed Claw is now on its way up, so they're going to be heading towards Objective 3, while Festus and company anchor down the middle. Chaos Warriors and halberds just waiting for the big engagement here, and now the objectives are opened up. So I'm going to be getting Objective number 2, moving my horsemen down here to get some cap weight. Now we got Chaos Warriors moving in to intercept the Minotaurs here. And Aspiring Champions versus Zangors. Interesting. Aspiring Champions kind of getting smacked a little bit, but we'd have to see how the sustained combat looked. Obviously, the Aspiring Champions do have more HP, and also, we got pretty good defensive stats too. So, see what the grind yields. Now, objective does flip to us. The halberds and the Aspiring Champions both have 5 cap weight in tandem with the horsemen who have 4, so we do get the cap on that objective, and objective 2 here does go in our favor. Now we call in one of our marked units, which is going to be the Hellstriders of Slaanesh. These things are pretty rad. They're fast, they're furious, and they are able to tear into those little archer boys there. And they do get close to breaking them. Granted, Subutai does respond with the Butchers of Kalkengard, so immediately going to be retreating. But I think that in this matchup, having those Hellstriders really does give you some play in the mobile game that you would otherwise normally lack, fighting in Centaurs and Minotaurs and Raiders and all that sort of good stuff. So Festus and his aspiring goon squad trying to move down towards Objective 3, because I am being overwhelmed here by the Beastmen mobility. Aspiring Champions holding, but being worn down. And unfortunately, my Chaos Warrior halberds, I do not know what happened to them, but they got gooned by these Minotaurs. And I believe the Minotaurs with their bonus for infantry with Ungor support were simply able to outtrade them. So now we're going to be putting all of our marbles in the old Severed Claw. So the Severed Claw going to be rolling up to the objective here, hoping their capture weight will be able to kind of anchor it for me in tandem with the Festus and Exalted Hero Goon Squad, which is going to be rolling quite majestically through. Now on this side, another pick, which goes quite well. We do see the Ungor Raiders getting annihilated here, while the Chaos Warriors overchase into enemy territory. Subutai here going to be getting a nice chariot charge, so we see the Bray Shaman moving through those Chaos Warriors. Now they're going to be hustling back towards objective number 2 as the battle rages on, and we are up in value, which is very, very good for us against the Beastmen here in the beginning, but it is certainly far from over, ladies and gentlemen. Forsaken coming in, I like them against Beastmen. Pretty good shock damage unit. They trade well into all the infantry, basically, except Vestigors. But unfortunately, these Minotaurs are able to outmaneuver my defensive pieces and crush the remainder of those halberds, and now these Forsaken are going to be getting their bread buttered pretty bad, as the Minotaurs of, I guess, Undivided Gods move in, and pretty much a hard counter against Forsaken. You only have 20 melee defense, so, Minotaurs will just absolutely annihilate them in combat. But we do anchor objective number 3, and objective number 2 here is still under our control. We have halberds, we have warriors. Unfortunately, these warriors are being surrounded, or not surrounded, but are fighting this armor-piercing chariot. And there's a lot of Minotaurs maneuvering around the battlefield. Really, really tough to keep up with the Beastmen mobility for sure as Chaos. Maybe Dragon Ogres could be a nice addition, like a couple of those guys mixed in, but there's a lot of rock, paper, scissors. The Dragon Ogres can be wrecked by Ungor Raiders. Horsemen here, kiting back the Butchers of Kalkengard, which felt relatively nice. We got a lot of HP damage off them. The Horsemen able to expend their ammunition relatively effectively. Minotaurs peeling across, looking to intercept the Warhounds, but they should be able to retreat. Meanwhile, the Aspiring Champions just absorbing the shots with their silver shields. Doesn't feel great, but they are holding it. But now we got a big onslaught coming in. My Forsaken got absolutely butchered. Probably got like 50 value. I guess like 200. Could be worse. But that was not a good trade for me. And now at this point, I'm going to be losing objective 3 most likely, ladies and gentlemen. I need to move the Severed Claw down here, get those bad boys on this point, and hopefully they'll be able to trade against some of these big threats and eventually grind down the Zangors. We will have to see. Side point, I do get repelled. The Hellstriders were fended off by a combination of Raiders, Spears, and Wild Hogs here. And in the middle, the Marauder Horsemen using all their ammunition relatively effectively. We do see 600 value here, and on these ones about 618. So they've done well. You know, they usually pay for themselves. And we still have this really disgusting character blob, right? Like Festus, as well as the Aspiring Heroes, Aspiring Champions. They're able to just bash down the Zangor infantry with a combination of Mortis Engine effects and AoE healing. And here comes Festus with a Stream of Corruption, which does tickle the pickle of those Zangors there, and I'm hoping to get that cap weight going, ladies and gentlemen. Certainly not easy. Beastmen do have me pushed back, and we do have a value lead, and I would say it's a true value lead with the healing we do have, but a lot of our value is tied up in our characters here, and I don't know what I was thinking here. I ended up charging it with the Horsemen against Minotaurs. I think it was just a misclick, and we do pull back. But now we're calling out a big heavy hitter to try and, you know, get back on the board here, get those objectives back. It's going to be the Mutalith Beast. So if you're playing with a Mutalith Beast against a faction with range, you typically want to keep it in reserve until you're able to soften up the range, you know, kill a couple raiders, really diminish their range firepower, and then you bring that thing in. And then it's going to be a terror, right? Immediately just wrecks these guys. And looking at this objective here, I mean, that Muty Beast is probably going to be able to handle this entire point worth of units. The Ungor Raiders are definitely the biggest threat to that bad boy, but overall, still pretty viable. So a couple Chaos Warhounds looking for a freebie, but Centaur is able to intercept them here, so we do end up pulling back, and those hounds are going to be retreating up and away and just trying to lure the Beastmen away from the combat. Here on the objective, the 2 heroes doing well, but the problem is there is a couple, you know, big anti-infantry Minotaurs in here, which over time might be able to actually end up killing my Aspiring Champions, so, or Exalted Heroes. Damn, I was, you know, Exalted, Aspiring, all this, all that. But I'm really hoping they're going to be able to hold it down. Razorgore Chariot over here. We do have the Bray Shaman on his chariot, causing quite a bit of havoc. And now we got a lot of cows on parade as Butchers of Kalkengard and Minotaurs coming in to surround, which is very good because they don't really care about Mortis Engine effects. So they're going to be able to sit and cackle there pretty hard. Now, I need the Mutalith Beast here to do its thing. Severed Claw still bumping and grinding very well. And the Zangor is going to be afflicted by the Aura of Mutation, so they're going to start getting changed into warp monstrosities by this big beastie here. Dude, the Mutalith Beasts are so incredibly cool. I really love like the Lovecraftian vibes they have, and just like as the ground like warps behind them. My wife is like a huge fan of the works of H.P. Lovecraft, and yeah, I've read a fair amount of the short stories as well, the stories I suppose. And yeah, always fun to see those kind of influences here in the horror genre. Middle's looking a little bit ugly. You know, I thought it was going well, but then my Exalted Heroes got terror routed by the cows. Festus is also on the run, and my entire squad, who was pretty healthy, falls victim to the terror rout of the Butchers of Kalkengard. So those Arwar Minotaurs actually terror out my 2 heroes, who will be stabilizing in a second, but Festus actually legit breaks. It's like, oh god, I need to stabilize that boy, bad boy if I can. Mutalith Beast here doing the work of the gods. Severed Claw, Mutalith Beast, and some Marauder Horsemen do get into combat. Centaurs here getting absolutely crushed by the big beast. Laser beams, shooting freaking laser beams. Yeah, remember the shark bit from Austin Powers? No, it's funny. But yeah, Centaur's getting crushed, getting Mortis Engined, and the Zangors are going to be following in their fate. And I do manage to flip the side objective, so I kind of was like, okay, there's a glimmer of hope here. Middle went a little bit precarious. I do have Hounds and Festus, and what's great about Festus is he will Mortis Engine while he's even broken, so he's still draining these units, which is hilarious. On this side, we do get some Hounds and Hellstriders, so they should be able to win in this 2v1 fight here. Some basic Marauders moving up to the point, who will have 5 capture weight. They will be outcapped by 3 Ungor Spears, but not by much. And, you know, Festus is going to do a drive-by Mortis Engine. The 2 heroes do kind of stabilize, or at least one of them does, and the Chariot character running over the other one. Sent in a couple Hounds to try and stabilize Festus, because I felt as if I could save Homeboy, I might have a chance of getting back in this game, considering, you know, he can heal and all that good stuff. Muty Beast here being picked. Severed Claw and company still fighting nearby, but they did move off the point, which is a little bit unfortunate. Zangors here are getting melted down, but the Muty Beast is up to 1,000 value, so it's halfway to paying for itself, but the Raiders are just so cost-effective here. 3 of those bad boys. And the thing about compromising Beastmen missiles is that Beastmen are incredibly good at protecting their missile pieces with Centaurs and Hounds and Minotaurs, so you really need to have some good dive or good opportunities to get on those guys. So here on the side, we do break a couple Razorgores, and now the Marauders are going to be trying to fight their way through. Festus still being hunted, but generating good value on the way out. He's got about 1,400, so he's paid for himself this game, which isn't terrible. Butchers are actually shaken, progressively losing HP against his drain, and the Spearmen here are also just getting drained down, which is absolutely hilarious. Exalted Hero in the middle, trying to fight it out, able to take down some Minotaurs. Has he paid for himself so far? Nope, only 300, but he doesn't cost much more than that, to be honest. We're going to see what he can do, and the Severed Claw being overwhelmed by Zangors, but their value probably is pretty impressive here, I would imagine. Nope, only 900, so I've been held to a low amount. I was completely wrong about that. Couple Marauders making their way in here. The Mutabeast had to chase down the Archers. If you didn't go after the Archers, I would be losing it. So hopefully the Marauders are able to get up there and cause some havoc. Other Exalted Hero on its way back in. And Festus down here does continue to get routed off the side of the map as we just keep scrapping for points. So on the far side, we're holding on to it. Marauders do arrive, but unfortunately the anti-infantry Minotaurs have also arrived to the neighborhood. And they're going to be butchering some of these Chaos Warriors. As back in the distance here, the Mutalith Beast is going to be hustling back towards Objective 3 to try and drain down all these bad boys. Several Raiders did get routed, and some shields did come back on the Beast, which is really good. BC sitting at about 1,200. Should be able to recoup its value here against double Zangor, and this is where it can really, really shine. Now, on the middle, we do get some good engagements. Butchers of Kalkengard finally broken by a charge from the Hellstriders here, in tandem with the Exalted Hero, but that big anti-everything spell, I guess, Traderkin, was able to finish off those units, but we do call in the Hellstriders. The Exalted Hero is in business here. We might have an opportunity of flipping the middle, while Festus is still just draining on the way out. It's absolutely hilarious. 1,500 value here. Forsaken making their way in. Forsaken do get countered by Razorgors, but I do have some infantry support nearby, and Razors still only do have 45 armor. So Forsaken kind of give it back to them as well, assuming they're not being charged or overwhelmed too heavily. So, you know what? Kind of looking like the worst here. We do see this objective getting pushed in our favor. The middle objective is flipping for us. And we do have the Mutalith Beast down here on Objective 3, who's going to be trying to scrap. Value is pretty big for the Beastmen. It's about 2,000 value. And with my healing taken into account, I did have in the early game, it's a little bit closer than that. And also Zechian shield regeneration on the Mutalith Beast and the Severed Claw, which is pretty radical. Disoriented buff going down, pretty cool thing that the Mutalith Beast does have, as the Severed Claw just proving that they are a good unit. And I mean, they were heavily overwhelmed by a lot of enemies, but they still stick in there and they still keep fighting the good fight. So Festus finally gets routed off. And I was just praying to the Dark Gods that he rallies right here, and he did rally. He's back, baby, and he's pissed. Although I didn't notice he was back. So he's just going to stand there for a second, looking pretty, and then the Ungor Spears are like, wait a second, buddy. We're coming for you. So we'll see what Festus ends up doing on the edge of the map. Objective 3 does go to us. The middle objective, it got really close to flipping for us, actually. We were close, but the Minotaurs were able to push off my Exalted Hero. The Hellstrider is going to be beaten down by Centaurs and Zangors, as well as the Great Bray Shaman. And over on Objective 3 here, the Muty Beast is, being an absolute linebacker. It's up to about 2,000 value right now. A couple horsemen coming in. So you can see we're kind of scrapping here a little bit, but we are massively behind on points, which is very, very scary. This objective is going to be flipping to us, but Festus did get chased off. He was on death's bed, so a couple spears were able to just kind of poke him a couple times, and he ended up running. More horsemen being called in out of reserve and over towards objective number 3. Looks like we're going to be able to get this one, but it's still, the points are just really, really going against us here, guys. As my opponent's at about 1,250 here, I'm at 500. Mutalith Beast coming in here, punching some of these Zangors in the face as more Chaos Warrior Halberds are getting ready to anchor down the middle, and I think they're a pretty good call. Chaos Warrior Halberds will be tough to remove. Part of me is thinking like Chosen could be okay in this matchup too. Granted, very vulnerable against like the nukes and the magic, like if there's Pit of Shades, if there's a Traderkin, those type of things. So we do get swept off the bottom objective. Huge onslaught of the Beastmen. Here in the middle, Halberds moving up as well as Hounds. Halberds will defeat the Zangors, I think. I haven't really tested it too much in like a testing situation, but overall I think they'll have an okay matchup there. Here on the bottom, looking good. Severed Claw still providing a lot of capture weight, probably like 3 or 4, even on Death's Bed, because they still have 9 models. And the Mutalith Beast is going to be able to just keep smashing through all these units down here. He's kind of been like the warden of this bottom objective. He's just been hanging out down here, anchoring this bad boy, and he's now paid for himself, which I'm very, very happy about. So now we need to find a way to work the middle point. Halberds and Zangors trading it out, but this flank is probably going to make my Halberds get absolutely wrecked here. Getting rear charged by very hard-hitting, armor-piercing monsters in the back is going to be devastating. The Halberds will help them fight back, but overall, the hammer and anvil here of the bacon is going to be very tough for these Chaos Warriors as they get sandwiched into another dimension, ladies and gentlemen. Also a little bit of firepower coming down. You can see they're returning the favor a little bit. Muty Beast is coming in, shaken at 12 leadership here. A couple of Hounds move in, do shut down the Ungor Raiders, which is quite big. On the bottom objective, Severed Claw still duking it out with some Zangors, fighting for dominance over that point here, and now the Mutalith Beast has arrived. Halberd sitting at 8 leadership, and now we're going for the bottom a little bit. Game's getting extra crunk here in the 4th quarter, guys. Couple Houndos, Marauder Horsemen moving in. We do have the capture weight here, and honestly, we're probably going to be able to break these spears with the Hound pressure. So objective 1 will most likely go to us. The bottom objective, though, unfortunately, is going to be flipping, as the Severed Claw does get taken down by Centaurs, And in the middle, we do start to fold when the halberds do run. And that is going to be GG. Well played, ladies and gentlemen. Really good game. You know, we had a decent little opening in the beginning, going up a couple thousand value there, but where that game really flipped super hard is when my 2 heroes in Festus got surrounded, circle beaten, and terror routed by Minotaurs and chased off the map. That was the big turning point. It was a really nice play because honestly, I still had a lot of Winds of Magic left. I could have healed the Mutalith Beast, healed Severed Claw. I had a lot to bring to the table, but he was able to take them down in a very opportune moment. And wow, 3,000 value on that Traderkin caster. Yeah, really good. It almost makes me think I should go like less blob focused when I play Warriors of Chaos. Like maybe do a build where it's just like, I don't know, who would be good here? You could do like a Valkia. Like Valkia plus like Burning Head is still good for killing raiders. So maybe you do like Valkia plus Burning Head. She's going to be really good against Minotaurs, good at sniping characters. Sleipnir is good against Zangors. And then you go with Burning Head to melt down some of these raider units. And then maybe Dragon Ogres, like with the weapons. Like that's what's so fun about Walk is 2,500 value in this guy, is that they have so many cool playstyles like that just aren't explored, you know? It's like they have so many combinations of god-specific units. I think they're so fun. That's why I'm making a Walk army in tabletop. Anyways, guys, take care of yourselves. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Well played to Subutai here, and we will see you on the other side, ladies and gentlemen. That's it for tonight.